Now we're going to get into how we design, the third act in our play. That's this whole course. So the whole process of design. And we're going to start with lesson 7, which is really being more than a pool designer. And that's something that I actually, when I almost cringe when I put the course together, labeled it as Pool Design 101, because it's not. That's not the goal of any of this, is to be pool design. The goal is to be a designer of exterior spaces. And it's very limiting when you just say pool design. Is this just a part of the whole process? We're going to touch on to that. We're going to get into the outdoor room concept as we really start to talk about looking more than the pool and thinking beyond the vessel. It's something I actually have a whole class that I've taught in the past, and I'm working on sort of revamping and bringing it back to, that's on the outdoor living 101. And that's the details of all the other parts of the design. So I'm going to just touch on that and talk about sort of how to think of the whole backyard as a house, and each room is the different features in the house. Just like the interior flows, the exterior can flow in a similar concept as well. And third, in this lesson, we're going to talk about the client-centered mindset, where talk about a different way to approach it, to looking at a project altogether, and one where you get sort of complete client buy-in, and how that can completely transform the way that a job goes for you, and your budgets go 2 and 3 and 8 times larger than they started out when you follow a few different mindset shift changes. So. And one more thing on here too. These are, and I mentioned it just a second ago, the slides are going to be a little bit haphazard as we come up here, because I was pulling different ones and coming in. So I've got a few topics I'm going to sort of go off on a tangent on here too. So I'll try and keep it as cohesive as possible here. But first, a statement to begin with: the pool is not the centerpiece of design. That may be a foreign concept to a lot of you, especially the guys that primarily do pools only, where you start with a pool and go out from there. We're going to show a different thought process. And who has seen these types of designs before? I apologize if any of these are yours. But you see a lot of the basic pool studio where you come out of the house and the pool is sitting there in the middle, and you wrap the pool with some decking around it, and then you put some landscape around that, and then you put some features in and call it a day, and there's a fence, and it's just this envelope system coming out. It's really all about just sticking a pool in the middle of the yard. It doesn't have a lot of design or thinking through what the entire space can become and how to make it interesting and feel like the whole yard, the entire space is your canvas you can work with, not just a pool, some deck, and call it a day. To be more than a pool designer, what's really important is the experience of living outdoors. That should be the focus, not the swimming pool. The pool is a very important part of the outdoor living experience, but it is just that. It's just a part. Everything else connects and ties in to make it come together. It's a limited name. I generally have tried to go with more. I mean, I'm a landscape architect, yes. That actually gets sort of a cringe name a lot of times too. You start saying landscape architect, and the first thing people start asking is, "Oh, tell me about this shrub, and I need someone to do my walkway and all that." And you're like, no, it's not really, doesn't really cover the scope of what we do. I do say I'm a water shape designer, or an outdoor living designer is more the name that I like to use. The outdoor living is sort of like the interior designer and how that process works, or the direct correlation to that. In thinking like an interior designer, when an architect doesn't design a room, an architect designs the entire house. The interior designer doesn't design just one room. The interior designer looks at all the different rooms in the house. Everything is considered, not just the pool room. All rooms and areas are important, from living to storage to mechanical to culinary spaces to aesthetics. Everything comes into play and ties into a cohesive design. We need to follow the same mindset when we do our design. So the kind of switching topics a little bit, I'm going to bring in the thought of an outdoor room. What are the other parts of the outdoor space beyond the pool? I've broken this down in the past and considered that literally like looking at the rooms of a house. It's the outdoor room. It links spaces together from the house to the outside, continues it. Effectively blur the line between indoor and out and extend your home to the outside is the overall goal. And in this, what I've written in the book and what I've put in here, there's several different rooms that I like to consider on the outside space. 5 of them would be the kitchen, which is obviously the outdoor kitchen space, bar, islands, hangout space in the kitchen area. Second is the living room, and kind of a key feature that follows each of these rooms. The fireplace, just like your living room typically has an indoor living room, has a fireplace. The fireplace fire pit flows from the outdoor room. The dining room, typically looking at sort of like an overhead structure, the pavilion, the pergola, the covered space to create the outdoor dining when you have the grand table space. And then they'll look at a playroom, which is sort of the lawn, the grand lawn, the open play, the turf space. And then lastly, I've got in there a bedroom, which not actually is a place where you sleep. That's not the goal, but it is sort of the getaway, the meditation space, have a little garden fountain feature, something that ties you in and gives you that respite area. Those are all great spaces or rooms to design when you're doing outside design, exterior space. Breaking those down just briefly, and I'm going to go through this pretty quick, but the outdoor kitchen, really the most used space in the outdoor design, the heart of a home, becomes the hub around which all of your activities circulate. When you're talking to clients, we'll talk about this in the next little lesson, but the outdoor kitchen is really determined. The scale and scope of what the kitchen is should be determined by what their lifestyle is and how they use it. And you really feel that from talk about how the indoor kitchen goes. Are they grill masters? Do they order out? What are their favorite dishes? What drinks do they like? Do you entertain? How often? Lots of guests, just a couple of friends or family. How to use the kitchen inside your home comes into play. But you can offer sort of unique and customized experiences based on their lifestyle, and you can take an outdoor kitchen space to just whole nother levels when you really know what the options are and opportunities are. Do a lot of you guys design outdoor kitchens regularly? I think a little bit of yeah, person, a little bit. Okay, there you go. So, I've been getting to do more of those and really get into the depth and really have enjoyed it. There's so much that you can add to that space. But one other thing I like to talk about when looking at the outdoor kitchen is when you use it. One of the benefits of having the big outdoor kitchen is you get to experience the golden hour outside, which is typically when you're eating or cooking or eating, and a lot of times you go in during that space. But if you have your whole outdoor living experience and space outside, the kitchen outside, it keeps you in the space, and you get to experience when that goes from the sun and the fun of the day, and the sun goes down and the light starts to come on, the fire features come on, the music changes from the crazy happy day to the soft and sultry stuff at night. It all changes, and you experience it all because you don't have to go in to cook and eat. Some of the equipment that I like to use in the outdoor kitchen, you've got the grill. The big mega grill is a great one. Power burner side. Pizza ovens. Anyone do pizza ovens? Add them to your designs at all? So I'm a big fan of that. Talk about a great experience. Easy to use. It's not the wood burning ones where you put them. You have to keep the temperature at the right thing, but keeping the big log, and it's really easy. You put it in for about 5 minutes, It's a fun experience to do with that. Griddle, teppanyakis. A lot of people use those. I've designed a good bit of those. Smokers. I love to smoke meats, and I'm kind of become a bit of a grill master myself. So I enjoy the cooking and all that goes with it. But different types of smokers, the ceramic smoker, pellet smokers, what I've kind of been into more lately than the ceramic. Anyway, lots of different ways to incorporate some equipment that's good outdoor kitchen spaces. And then really, and I'll go into this into a different class, but the 4 zones of the outdoor kitchen, you've got the hot zone, cold zone, wet zone, and dry zone, which I say grill and chill, and then splash and stash, your 4 different spaces. The hot zone is obviously your cooking, cold is your ice and your refrigerators. Wet zone is the sink and all the beverage centers. And then dry zone is your storage and pantry. So all 4 of those zones come into play and are something you want to have considered when you design the outdoor kitchen. Another question I get a lot of on talking to clients is, okay, outdoor kitchen, one thing they say is, well, I want it near my back door. So I don't want to have to go all the way out to the yard to grill and come back in. And I get that to an extent, but what you're really doing is keep limiting your space. If your goal is to make a big outdoor kitchen and create this ambiance element, if you just stick it right by the back door, you haven't really drawn people out into your entire backyard. I like to have the outdoor kitchen even in towards the back of the yard or towards a pavilion or pergola that's, in that space that's drawing you all the way out. You're not just stuck right at the back patio. But if you put that in the back and then basically that flips you around and you sit there and you look back at the house and you experience the entirety of the space, it's a great way to have that entertainment element. And it's not just like creating a log jam or a traffic jam at the back door. But to the point, if someone says, well, I want to still have, be able to not have to go out there if I want to make burgers and, chicken on Tuesday night, I'll put a second grill built in or right there, just a smaller version of a grill right at the back door where I can still have that. So you can still have your outdoor cooking for easy use in the house. It's not redundant to have another small grill to have those that experience. So it's a way to think through how you want to use the space. And we'll get into that further when we talk about all the client stuff. So the second outdoor room is the outdoor living room, which the fireplace is sort of the key piece to that. And that really opens up great opportunity with a fireplace to do some interesting architecture. It doesn't have to be just your normal, straight up stone fireplace. You can do some architectural elements to it. I know, Chad, we've got one that's in Frankham that we designed that's got some really cool, I don't know how all that smokestack is on that one, but it's a neat tie-in piece that's coming in.
I was just thinking about that. When you go get that photographed?
Yeah, go check that. So, anyway, it's a great place to encourage gathering, hang out with people you care about. This is the place you just want to be in sort of the outdoor living room. Fireplace, a few pictures that kind of show some different styles of that. Relaxation, oversized. You want the furniture to be large, set up for conversation. Think through how, just like you would an interior living room, this is where you just fall into the furniture and could go to sleep if you want to. I also like to have big fans, especially in the cupboard section. The big ass fan that'll do the massive airflow and create that almost like a wind tunnel effect is cool. Next room is the dining room, and it's kind of also got its sort of structures on that. Gathering space, the big table, if you entertain a lot and have, or your clients entertain a lot, have ample space for seating and make an inviting table that's really cool that can be brought in and feel like it's a plenty of room for everyone to get out and enjoy and spend time, just like you would in the family table, like the kitchen table or the formal dining room table, depends on how they entertain, but make plenty of room for that. And usually I've got those in a covered structure, whether it's the pergola, the pavilion elements. That's where the key dining lamps or overhead lighting comes into play, just like in a indoor dining room. And it go a little bit of different types of pavilions, pergolas, the difference between those. It's in another lesson that the outdoor living class will go well into depth into those facts. So the next room that I've got is the playroom, and that's the fun space too. The outdoor place dedicated to fun and group activity. Kids can be rambunctious. Adults can play golf, can do putting greens, etc. Bocce ball has been a big thing. We've done a lot of those lately. That's the picture up here in the middle. Just open play, cornhole, bags, where you are in the country, cornhole down here. Tournaments, just fun, a place to have fun. But the biggest thing from a design standpoint that I always make sure with my outdoor lawns or the playroom, great lawn space, I don't want it to be where the design sort of falls off into just being the yard and it just disappears into space with the fence in the background. That's not a draw. That's not something that you go to and experience. It's just the leftover space. I like to make my lawn spaces be where they follow the same spatial theme as the pool and the hardscape and the decking and your overall design. If it's a rectilinear, then the lawn space is going to be rectilinear. If I've gone circular, then I'm going to make the lawn space kind of circular. Angular is going to be the same. So it feels like it's an extension of the overall space. Landscape on the backside, really tie everything in around to where it feels like it's all one. And I always like to compare it because it's generally similar in size to what the pool is. If it's sort of like the negative space of the pool, like they're like one's blue and wet, the other is green and dry, but they're kind of fighting for superiority. It's probably not the right word, but they're on the same plane of importance. The pool and the hardscape or the lawn space come into play, and they are they're a mirror of each other. So don't take that as a just an afterthought space. My biggest takeaway.
Most of the time, it is an afterthought. Unfortunately,
I know
we just think most of the time everybody thinks about the pool and the hardscape, and then the landscaper. Well, he'll be here later, and you just lost the whole point of all the rest of the spaces that are outside the hardscape.
And it's really not hard to do because you're basically, in order to make it tie in and feel like it's all some of the same space, you just have to kind of landscape around it and put the bed edges around it and continue the spatial theme. So if you tie in the exterior, the very edge space with some great landscaping and connect it, you've kind of done it. It's not a hard space to do. You just have to think to do it. So that's my challenge here. Design the green space, the lawn space as an integral feature of the design, not just the leftover space.
Which is what we usually leave for where the setbacks are, right?
Yeah.
Those are the areas that whenever we talk about using the whole lawn, we talk about using everything outside the hardscape. And that's usually in a small lot, that's going to be everything outside that's not usable, quote unquote, but it's completely usable. Look at these pictures, right?
But maybe not. Maybe it's not just the setback space in the end. It also is a way, there have been plenty of designs I've done where it's been on the same plane of importance as the pool, where you've got the pool is kind of off to the side a little bit or on a thirds line. And then the turf and lawn space is, more towards the middle or center or other thirds line. So the two are right there together is important. And it's not just the setback space. So there's lots of ways to really bring that up in the hierarchy of the spaces you use and enjoy. Another comment, do y'all do turf, synthetic turf, natural grass, have opinions, like it, don't like it, yay? Raise your hand, yay.
All the time.
All the time, yeah. I've gone through the full spectrum of that when it first came out, or not even first came out, when it was, I guess, introduced residentially. I was a hard no. It looked like, painted concrete or, fiber sticking out. It just, like, I don't want anything to do with turf. I was natural grass purist, etc. But as the product has gotten a lot better, It looks more natural. It feels more natural. There's one brand that I like to use called Sin Lawn. That the contractor here that we use, Tyler with Goat Turf, he's sort of franchising that different cities, different areas. Man, that I did it. I took the sample to my house before I built my pool, and threw it. I had a really nice lawn, grass lawn space. I threw the sample out, and it completely disappeared in my backyard, just gone. So it was it's like that looks about as close as you can possibly get. And even has like brown thatch all woven into it, so it feels just like the natural deep green, natural grass, etc. I did it. I laugh now. I mean, it's one of my favorite things I did. I like lay down and do like snow angels, grass angels in the grass, and have fun.
Put those in the back of your truck too, Jason, if you really fall in love with the turf.
Yeah, so I give Chad a hard time. He's even more of a turf fan than I am. I was like, he's got it in his truck. I said he actually is wrapping his truck in it like this. He's kind of like the Dumb and Dumber mobile with the dog, Shaggy Dog. His whole truck is turf. So
we don't have the leg that flips up. It's not on my
right. Oh, gotta go. Sorry,
not good for business.
Sure enough. So you're Tyler's biggest salesman there is, I think.
Yeah.
And one more thought on turf before I move on from that. The downside that people say is it gets hot. And not untrue. It will get hot in the summer when you get some sun and wide open spaces to it. I may have mentioned this last time. I like to put the irrigation on the turf, so it's not to make it grow, but it will. You can put it on the pool controller, and then it'll pop up and spray and do the cool it down. It's like a misting system. So
yeah, the one other issue we have with it is that when people have pets and the dogs pee on it, it'll stink.
So is it the pet friendly stuff, Michelle?
Yeah, and we even use the infill that's supposed to have like the enzymes it's supposed to help as well too. But I mean, we've got tiny yards here, so the dogs are going in the same areas, and after a couple of years, it's stinky.
Where are you again?
Las Vegas.
Vegas. Okay, gotcha. So, I do think a lot of it depends on how much gravel and what you have underneath as well. Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
we're looking for a turf that has more of the drainage holes in it to help get more of that urine like down into the earth. So yeah. we're checking with a couple different vendors now.
Who do y'all use now?
To be honest with you, I just know the name. It's Malibu Fescue. I don't know who the manufacturer is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's something we could hook her up with Tyler and
yeah.
Could we get it here in Vegas?
It's a national company. Yes.
Okay.
Sinlon's been great. I've had great experiences with Sinlon.
Okay. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we've been using it with pets, and I've got my dog. Goes on it all the time. So we grasped everything that's out there. So
okay, cool. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. So anyway, that's my turf spiel. So moving on from there. Last room in the outdoor room idea is sort of like I mentioned, the bedroom. Again, not for sleeping, but for lounging, getaway, respite. I've done a lot of little like pergolas, even a cantilever pergola, like 2-post with an overhang. I've done some to create some little privacy element to it. With hanging day beds are great for just a getaway reading nook, meditation spot. Place basically just is the getaway. And anytime you're trying to have that getaway and quiet moment, I love to have a fountain feature there. Not necessarily the same one that's in the pool, but even a small something that gives you that sight and sound of moving water, that just peaceful relaxation space is a great piece to put into an overall design. Comfortable for relaxation, hanging day beds, small fountains, sort of the key pieces to that. Different types of fountains. This is again part of the other presentation that I do, the other class, but architectural fountains, wall mount fountains, natural pondless water features, koi ponds, different way to have that feel that ties into projects. A few different architectural or modern style tie in some 410, different wall fountains, natural. This is that yin and yang picture again. I always like that we looked at the other night. Getting into some Japanese garden style, little fan of that right now. Koi ponds, etc. So anyway, that's sort of the outdoor room concept, to think not just as a pool designer, to think about all the other features that are out there and how do you start to connect it all as one. So, and then the next part of this session goes into how do you develop a different mindset than a lot of pool companies have when they think about a project altogether. And really the overall goal here is to how do you get your client to buy in completely and say, become you're basically a raving fan of what you do. The mindset that a lot of builders have is focused on what they do best, do the pool, and let everything else be by others. So design it kind of what we said at the beginning, put the pool in the middle, strap it concrete. This is what we do. I'm not worried about all the other features and how it ties in. I don't make money on that. That's a business efficiency model mindset. And I understand it. I understand the thought process behind it. I don't agree with it. But the attitude is get in, get out, get paid, and move on. So it's a turn and burn production pool style. Some of you guys may do that or have companies that do that. So that's a very common across the industry. What that doesn't do by others is put the customer, their investment in their best interest at the heart of what you want to happen. In the box thinking is encouraged, saying we don't offer that. We don't do these, customers say, well, what if we did this or thought about that? We don't do that. That's not what we offer. Which really means we don't make a lot of money doing that, or we don't think we can make that much money doing that. So you just discourage that or move on and just throw a pool in the middle of the yard and call it a day. That becomes piecemeal, limited vision designs. Don't know how many projects I can say that we've been to and look at, and you look back there and you say, oh, this could have been so much more. Especially when it's a client that then is wanting to do something different, kind of like I mentioned, I think the first day of, that design wasn't considered and they end up now wanting to rip it out. They did it 3, 4, 5 years ago, and now they're looking at it and going, this didn't really meet what we wanted it to do. So they need to call you back out there and you're redesigning or trying to renovate, or really means probably ripping out and starting over because it didn't have that creative design or thinking through what the project could have been from the beginning. This is a big deal to your clients. Everything we do in the design is a big deal. Because other than the purchase of their home, this is the second largest investment they're going to make. It's more than opulent weddings, lavish vacations, luxury vehicles, kids' college tuitions. Oftentimes, it's more than all of those combined. It's a big deal. We need to treat it like it's a big deal. And too often, we as designers, builders, don't consider each project as a big deal to that family. It looked, we're going to the Johnson residence on Tuesday, that this project, number 23169, got that one slated for this week, and it just turns into a line item and not a person. And it loses that connection and that potential to take it and do something which it could have been so much more. Which leads to customers having great anxiety because they know we don't exactly have the most scrupulous, honest, integrity business. If anyone doesn't know that as an overall, the pool industry is about as low as it gets in the construction trade, sadly. So you hear horror stories about how bad the industry is across the country. You see what's happening down in Florida, some of the companies. I won't name names, even though he's been in some of my classes in the past. Screwing people over left and right, only caring about how can I turn this thing in 30 days or less. Your client comes in skeptical. Their arms are crossed. They're aware that they're opening self up to a process where they very well may be screwed. And they're not wrong. The skeptical buyer is on high alert. They don't trust anyone. This place is known to screw people over. It's pickpockets. They're not buying what you're selling from day one. So how do you change that? How do you get from I'm not buying skeptical vice grip around the wallet to what I always call the Disney World wallet? So everyone's been to Disney. Kids, Disney, yes, done the Disney experience. No, some of you not. Okay. So, well, if you do or when you do, it's a very different experience. They are masters at making you just take your wallet and be like, here you go. Take it just drain me dry.
Yep.
And you smile the whole time.
Yep. $15 Coke, no problem.
Yeah, and you smile because man, they are so good. Marketing is brilliant. You end up with a term of by the time you've been there a couple of days of, oh, it's not that bad. Yeah, it really is that bad. So you're spending, $260 for lunch at a fast food thing at for the hamburger and it's ridiculous. But everyone's smiling and they're so good with the kids and it turns into this experience and you realize when you go in, it's going to be expensive, but it's going to be worth the ride. And that's your job as a designer, as the liaison, especially if you're a pool design build company or have that role, to build rapport, to make it feel like you are on their side. Let them know that they have confidence you have their best interest at heart. When they know that you have their back and you have in mind what's best for them, that vice grip starts to loosen a little bit. And they go from, I always like this, the Jordan Belfort memes, but, we're going, I'm not going to spend $10 at the grocery store to just, shelling out. The Disney World wallet is when they know and understand that, yes, this is going to be expensive, but they know that throw the wallet on the table anyway and say, what the hell? They know the experience will be worth the expense. Can you get to the point with a client where they understand that it's going to cost money, but it's going to be worth it? When you get to the Disney World wallet stage, all pre-discussed project budgets get thrown out the window. Now you're ready to really discuss what they want and what you can do for them. Yeah. How do you get there? It's in the design process is really the answer. You want to create something unique, special, and emotional that's custom created for them. And when you can do that and they understand it, results in actual budgets that are 2 and 3 times or more the original budget that was discussed. The initial budget is often just an arbitrary number based on assumptions, fear, not actually based on the client's ability to spend. I always won't tell the story. So the budget typically starts out with is the neighbor at the party says, this is what I spent. Okay, we're going to do a pool. So he asks the neighbor, what did you spend on the pool? Well, the neighbor isn't going to tell the full story. He wants to save face and act like he got a good deal. So he's going to take about 30 grand off of what he totally spent when he starts talking about what the pool should cost. So that, $400,000 project just turned into a $370,000 project. And then when that homeowner comes to you as the designer and builder and they say, what's your budget? He's not going to give you the big number already. He wants to build in some fluff on there. So he's going to take about 50 grand and say, oh, it's about 320 is my budget, 300, 320, somewhere in the low threes. But really, it's even for the same thing that the neighbor's spending, you're about $80,000 to $100,000 off. So it's just you're just talking fake numbers at first, not on what they really have or what they want. You have to start talking about what they want, what their goals are, what their experiences are. You don't find out the real budget until the clients actually buy into you, your design, your process. You know that you're there to add value to their homes and make it special. This is an investment, not an expense. It's an experience and one they can anticipate for their family to enjoy for years and years to come. So, Gerson, I'll use this as an example. So, we've got one going. Yeah, okay. So, but the project we have going with Gerson, and I've got a picture of it later. I'll show at least from the design element coming in. Gerson called me about this time last year, maybe a few months earlier, and we did a design for a client that he had, and went out there and met with them at their house in Georgia, and started talking. They've got lots and lots of money, so it's a huge site and a really cool space, and they're awesome clients. But money is not an option. We started talking about what budget and what it is, and one of the first thing that Chuck said was, "I'm not spending more than $400,000 on a pool. He's not going to do it. Period." But didn't really listen to that. That's an arbitrary number just thrown out there because he doesn't think a pool should cost more than $400,000. So we went ahead and went through, okay, what do you want? The process we're going to talk about here next in just a minute, and went through that whole element and turned into, what could we do? Design something not based on a $400,000. I didn't just hear $400,000 and say, okay, I'll design you a $400,000 space. That doesn't meet any of the goals and dreams of what you want. So we designed something. We went through a couple iterations, loved it, did it, whatever. And where are we, Gerson, on that one now? Is it
over 1.6?
Yeah, it went from I'm not going to spend 400 to now they're at 1.6 million on it. So
And it keeps going, up.
it keeps going up.
And they're happy with that. And they're happy with spending that because they see the value in it. That's what's awesome.
Very happy. Yep.
And Chad, the number of ones we've had that's crazy that just turns into, I'm not going to spend this to whatever it is. So I think we've got a couple right now. One's like, what is High Valley? $3.5 million that started at let's just do a pool renovation. And now
pool renovation.
Yeah. And now it's at $3.5 million. So anyway, it's there when you've got a client. And one thing I probably will say this later, but I'll go ahead and say it now too. What I do when I'm asking, I don't ask for a budget on the front end. I don't say, give me your number. I say and again, I have a little bit of leeway on this because I design, I don't build. So I'm not trying to, price something. And I will say I'm not, I can do two things from a design standpoint. I can either be very consistent with your house and your neighborhood and whatever, and just stay kind of tighter to what we're doing. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Or do you give me permission to dream? And if you give me permission to dream, watch out, because I got some weird ass dreams. I can go whatever. And we'll do crazy stuff. And
I like that. That's a good way to just tell the client, like, you're willing to just go all out.
Yeah. And though they're telling you you're willing to go all out. So, and that's, if you give me permission to dream, just, Katie, bar the door, we're coming in hot, baby. So,
so
what do
you do when you're in a market that is in a different mindset? I'm in Northern Ontario, Canada, where people consider a project 100 to 150,000 is like a really, really, really big deal. And they want a pool, and they want the whole outdoor living and the pool house and the cabana and the kitchen and everything that goes with it. And then you design that, and then you tell them it's going to be 300,000, and they scream at you. So now this year, I haven't even been designing. I won't start a design without knowing what their real budget is. And like last year, we were able to get that little bit of extra money out of them. This year, people are just, I've had cancellations of projects because we're not coming in at budget. Like where you have a market that's able to stretch that dollar, that's great. But what you do when you don't have that kind of a market?
We try to do a master plan and get them. Jason, I'll let you talk, but
Oh, you go ahead. Go
the
ahead.
best thing to do is to have them buy in on a master plan, because at the end of the day, it'll get better. If it's a little tight now, plan for the future and be able to have this whole thing eventually. Like sometime, like I have one right now that we're not doing the cabana right now, which we tell them you got to do the cabana. We're just not going to spend that $80,000 on the cabana. Sorry. And it's like, as the builder, I understand that. Something I have to I try to push it. Jason absolutely always pushes it. But the reality is if you can get it so that it's, it's a master plan, and yes, you're going to do this eventually, then it's easier for them to swallow, and for you to put in, whatever drainage you need, whatever power, just bring all that stuff there, keep it underground, put footers in, keep it all underground, make it part of the deck, and have that as a place so they can spend the money later. That way you're just not just chopping everything out and making it and dumbing it down to something that they don't really want at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm at that point right now with the last two clients I've had, is where they're saying, this is my max number. And the contractor that I work with gave them a ballpark, but when he ballparks, he doesn't ballpark design, he ballparks hardscaping. And then I'm trying to sell them a design with all of the elements, all of the outdoor living elements. And then I come in way above that initial budget, and then so it's, I find that difficult to try to follow a ballpark that's been given by the contractor, and then to actually make it work for the client who wants the whole experience and the whole design.
So are you tight with this contractor? You guys have a good relationship?
I'd say, yeah, it's a mutual referral. He refers clients to me and I design exclusively for him, but this year he just hasn't been able to keep up. And he just hasn't been able to, deliver the projects, and new business is not coming in. And I'm at a point where I'm asking myself, do I need to break the tie with this contractor? Do I need to open up who I design for?
I would open up who I designed for, so you can have more options out there.
Yeah, because
sometimes
it sounds like he's also trying, because he doesn't have the work coming up. He's gonna be bashful a little bit. He's gonna keep those numbers a little lower when he tells them that, just so he can get the job. But then you're like, but that's not what they want.
Exactly.
So it is. I mean, it's something that me and Jason have to work through all this stuff, just like y'all do. So yeah, right now, let's be honest. People, they still want it. But there's a little bit more than there was last year.
Yeah.
And so that's where we just try to be. Maybe we're not as pushy as we used to be. Jason still is going to be pushy, but I have to play I have to skate the thin ice, and I have to play both sides, right? But I think what I do is I always put the knowledge in the designer's hands. I put it in Jay. I'm like, y'all listen to Jason. Y'all design something that y'all want. We'll figure out how much the numbers are, how much the project is going to be, and then that's where we scale down.
So Jason's the designer, but then you're the contractor.
Well, they're calling me the wet blanket.
Chad's the wet
Bad
blanket.
answer. The bad answer.
Gotcha.
That's right. I get to have fun and dream and all that. Correct.
That's right.
So Chad, when you say master plan, you mean like so that they can just build it out in phases?
Correct. Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
And then when you say that to them, they're like, "Oh, can we do that?" A lot of them don't even. That's like not even an idea in their brain, so they don't even know that that's an option.
That way,
and like I did one like 3 years ago, and it was more than they wanted to spend. They wanted the cabana, and I'm like, well, that's okay. Don't come back here in 2 years and destroy the whole backyard and spend another 100,000 tearing it up so that you can put the cabana in. Let's just make that a place where the band plays. So I, lifted it up 6 inches, the deck area, and we pulled all the power and everything, and they ended up building the cabana just this year, and it looks great. It was great, and it was not a problem. It's we did the initial work, and then all they got to do is come on and build on top of it. But that's a way to strip off a nice chunk in one swoop and not affect the rest of the project. You know what I mean? If you're trying to cut out a couple $100,000, that's where you can tell them to wait and do it later, and you don't have to make the pool smaller or take the edge away or make the landscaping a lot less or what have you. That just tends to work out good for us.
And
Jason, I'll say something if I may.
Yep.
I found it that some clients, they do like to work in phases 1 and 2 additions for next year project. But as the builder, usually the first phase, you leave it ready for the second phase. When you come in, there's not a lot of destructions or waste of money for those phases as well. So I think that's a good idea as well. Some clients are not budget tight, but they want to do it in phases. They want to feel responsible in the expenses. And they tend to work, and for us is good because we're going to get half a project about the same amount of money that we did this year, next year coming up, regardless. But it's those clients that they want to work in those type of phases sometimes, which is not all the clients, but some of them are willing to do that.
Yep.
A lot of it too goes to mindset of, it's not, you end up feeling like the bad guy because you're saying we're charging all this. You create something that, ends up being, well, you're the guy just is blowing it out and going crazy. But in the end, you're asking them what they want. You're getting a feel for what fits. And and part of what we're going to talk in the next topic goes through how to read what you see, how to listen to what they're saying, how to see what they're not saying, how to feel if it really is tight. And when you've got a client that's really on a tight budget, then there are great ways you can design things that still stay, more consistent with the house and the site, and that feel right to that. But it's one of the big, and this is a term, I don't have that in a different presentation I give to a few different groups, but one of the ones I talk about is it's basically the concept, don't let your middle class get in the way of that man's money. A lot of times they've got money, they don't want you to know it. It's their money, it's not your money. You're there to present ideas and throw things out and say, hey, here's some thoughts based on what you're telling me you want, what I see, what fits. Usually, and it flows, and there's some that are, different clients, different ways, but if they've got an idea of what things cost, and if they know the difference in a Corolla and a BMW. There's a lot of difference in there, and there's the luxury market that you go for that comes into play. So you just offer it out there and say, I make suggestions, you make decisions, it's your money. Here's some thoughts. If you say, I'm not doing that, okay, then let's take that out. But I don't want to get rid of that. Okay, now what? Do you want it or do you not? I'm not going to give it away. So can you sharpen your pencil? Can you do better on that? And say, no, what, for you or for me? I can do better for me. I'm not going to do better for you.
I know where that came from.
I know. Sometimes you got to be harder with them and have, joke with them with it and have some drinks with them and get them off their, high horse. A lot of times it's not.
And that is one thing that I've learned. I let Jason do that part, because when you're the contractor, it's hard. They don't, it's all about money with me. With Jason, it's their dream. And I'm like, well, talk to Jason. If you want to take something, you need to go talk to Jason. It's not my decision. And he's a lot harder on them than I am, because he's not making any money off of that decision. He's doing it for their own good. So as a contractor, one of the biggest things I've learned as far as getting more for the projects, talk to him. Go talk to that guy. I'm just building it. I'm building the dreams and I'm making it happen. But that's not my part.
I invite it. It's fine. Come on, let's talk about it. And I'll say the good, the bad, or you should do this, or what if we get rid of this? Well, if you get rid of this, it's going to kill that. But it's your call. And sometimes they're like,
I got one question on that. So, like, let's say you provide them the dream, and you talk about phasing it out, and they're like, "Hey, to eliminate that cabana that's integrated with the house, we don't want to spend $80,000 on it, but they get online, they find, the kit or whatever, and they're like, hey, we can go ahead and get it now for 30,000, and like deep down, and this may be more of a Chad question, like." Jason knows it's going to kill the design. Chad being the contractor, you don't want to lose the pool project and all of the hardscape and everything else by like turning away that project. But how would you handle that? Because bringing in some kits could ultimately kill the whole. Feel like it kills.
Yeah. So I would, if it's first of all, I always go back to the landscape architect, to Jason. Yeah. I always go back to him. I'm like, listen, hey, y'all can do whatever you want. Go talk to him. There's great kits out there, and you can get what you pay for. Yeah. If you want to buy it, this is the little token that I give them. I'm like, if you want to buy it, save some money. I won't mark it up. I don't care. That's fine. I'm not going to get rich off that item. That's not what I'm looking for. But I mean, I don't do that very often. But sometimes it feels like a win to them. So you want to make sure that they get a win, and then it's up to Jason to talk them out of that.
Yeah.
Right. And then it needs to be
pay for what you get.
$30,000. It's going to be a piece of junk. I mean, you can get what you pay for. If it's like wood and it's carved and it's beautiful and it's stained and all that stuff takes more time than just throwing a little piece of aluminum structure here and calling it a day. So,
in Hunter, what I do in that case, I don't just go say no, you're wrong. Screw it. Don't do whatever. I want to go through. Okay. I'll let present what we found this. What if we do this? And I'll do this. I say this in my design presentation process of every decision I make is built on. I look at it and I try and shoot holes in it. And if I can't shoot holes in it, then it stays. So when I design something of the structure now, it's meant because I designed it to be consistent with the architecture of the house, your consistency in materials, all of these things. So that fits and it works. Yes, it's more expensive. So, okay, let's punt and let's see what if we use this. So let's stick it out there. Boom. Now, what do we see? Let's look at it in the model. Put it in the model and show what that's going to look like. A lot of times you do that and you can throw it in the model and say, ooh, I didn't know that, also that price doesn't look so great when you're, seeing a big, siding and, plastic and everywhere as opposed to what it was going to be. And then they're, back on to, hey, let's do it right. Because typically they want to do it right for the house, but they have to understand it. And you can't just say, no, you're wrong, forget it. Nor should you just say, okay, I don't care, whatever, do whatever you want to do, because they'll end up hurting themselves. But you have to go through that process with them to say, here's what this is going to look like. Here's the benefit. Here's the bad. So you're, again, not my money, your money, but from a design perspective, this is the downside. So that helps.
Right.
This summer, Costco is advertising some pergola, like 15 by 20 for $2,500. Two customers decided to buy it. And I mean, by the time you opened up the box, they were already saying, no, we're not doing it. Yeah.
Do what you pay for.
That's the best part about Costco. They'll take anything back. Sure enough. But, so it's the whole thing is it's a game, not really a game. It's just a process you work through when you're trying to be their representative. And the benefit of being on design, not build side for me, and the way that Chad and I work off each other a lot of times is, I can be the bad guy, he can be the good guy, or vice versa. So we play it. I'm not trying to make money off of it. I just build my hourly rate to deal with thing, and I'll just give you an opinion. So whatever that is.